Hello, and welcome back to another day of Sunk Cost Fallacy Simulator, where I invest more of my precious life on this earth investing in tasks that don't really matter. Yesterday, we left off having supplied all of these machines for more heavy modular frames with the required steel, iron, and concrete. After yesterday, I went ahead and finished up acquiring all the resources that we'll need to fill the next two lines of these machines because I thought it would be a little boring to show on camera doing the same kind of repetitive tasks over and over. Although I did probably the most beautiful, meticulous wiring you've ever seen over there. This is as close as we're gonna get, so trust me, bro. Now all we really have to do is to build two more of these machines and then supply the material, which again I've already gotten off camera to save you guys having to watch the boring, tedious tasks of doing the same repetitive thing over and over. So instead, we're going to build two layers of this machine, otherwise known as doing the same boring, repetitive task over and over and over. Let's get to it. Probably aligned like that, and then like so. This should be perfect. Should be being the key word. I've said that word lots in my life, and I am always made the fool for doing so. I am much slower. I just kind of woke up here. Not that I'm particularly fast on like most days, but at the same time, it's just a bit slower. Yeah, genuinely when I do play this game though, I just feel like I have fun in the moment, and then you get that sense of like shame and regret when you see that you've been playing this game for hours and hours and hours. It really is like sunk cost fallacy. And sure, if you enjoy the time that you wasted, it's not wasted time. In a sense, that is a very valid. But every time I get off and I'm tired and my brain hurts from having to not do necessarily like hard thinking, like none of this is particularly difficult. It's just working with numbers and having to make so many decisions in a row, especially when you're kind of working on building new systems. It just leaves me drained. It's like it uses the exact same parts of my brain that I could be like programming with, and I just think to myself like, wow, what could I have done with this time? Not even like I could go out and be social and live a life of like wonder and fantasy. It's like I don't give a shit about any of that. I could have been programming, my guy. I will say, it is my personal belief. I don't believe in like our culture's fantasy with working all day every day. I think that for the most part with individuals, deep work you can only sustain for like maybe like 4 hours in a day if you're doing something really challenging. I think that everybody's desire to go through and work like insane hours is not good for your health, especially when you're sacrificing sleep to do so. I think that is actually a very large mistake. Sleep is very restorative, so if you're listening, kids, be very careful about that sort of thing. Don't go ahead and ruin kind of your life and sleep schedule just because you think that you should be working hard and not be lazy. What is also baloney is yesterday I realized that when I was working that I was not using Mark 6 lifts because on my hotbar it's just Mark 5 and I was forgetting to press the E key to upgrade them. So I had to go through all the way over here and upgrade those because I was not getting the amount of iron that was actually required for these, and it was kind of screwing me up, but it is what it is. As you can see, we have, or maybe can, I don't want to get too close to that very beautiful and meticulously wired factory over there. We got 4 1200 belts that will plumb in over here. I sent my water over there. The concrete that we made yesterday should be more than sufficient to supply the factory over here. We don't really got to worry about it. We just got to make sure that we split it appropriately. What I need to do though is properly make sure I hook up the appropriate rails where they need be. And that's where we're gonna have to start feeding the iron over there, and then also at the midpoint. Also off camera, I got my steel handled more appropriately. I went over, and on the map here, uh, I had gotten a lot of what I could, but I got iron from over here. There was a lot of coal, but not enough to supply this iron. So I went up around here yesterday and just got a pure 1200 feeding level of coal. And now we have more than enough steel to supply the 2 extra rails that we're going to be building here. We are just going to get steel from over here. Man, I do love wiring on top of the roof. It just, as like little jumpers and stuff, it makes your life easier. But as you start getting more and more advanced, oh boy, does it just start becoming messy and a pain to maintain. I wish, again, you could just kind of scroll like you can when placing conveyors on the ground to go up different amounts of levels. That would make my life somewhat easier, but again, my life has never been easy, and sometimes you just gotta lock in, you know? I say my life hasn't been easy. My life is very easy. I just like to make life harder for myself. And that's the truth. Okay, so the last set of resources that we are going to plumb here is iron, which we will do 2 halves. Do I just want to run this along the ground? That's a good question. I don't know, honestly. Because on one hand, it's super messy. On the other hand, I don't know if I feel like plumbing it to the ceiling. You know, I have so much running along my ceiling already, and this space is useful for like my train stations, which I actually find kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't really care. But you can see the 4,800 ingots that I just delivered yesterday. Yeah, I guess I will try and wire this nicely. I don't want this to be wired nicely, I say, as I nitpick every little thing still. Man, stray conveyor poles are the bane of my existence, I tell you. I've said it once before, I'll say it again. I definitely live my life like I play games. Like, it's completely synonymous. And what I mean by that is, like, instead of, like, actually focusing on, what's around me and like living in the moment and like taking in my surroundings, instead my head is just pointed down at the task I'm focusing on, instead of like looking at the nice beautiful scenery of trains getting, you know, loaded, and like looking at nature and like when the sky is nice and beautiful. I really don't do that. Instead, I just keep my head in the dirt and go like, oh, this is a nice ass conveyor belt, let's continue working on it. If I went to the roof, I could have just went straight across. No, it would have been much more work, actually. Get out of the way, you stupid tree. So, I'm probably going to get this wrong again, but I'm going to take this one. Also going to leave room for an additional train station. What I've learned is always leave room in front of your train stations if I were going to play this game again, which I've learned a lot of building techniques, which has allowed me to get better as I go. One of them is always leave room in front of your trains, because if you want to scale them up, whether you need another freight car or just need another locomotive to hold the additional weight, that's never a bad practice. Okay, so I know what I need to do. I gotta stop all the ghosts that are coming through. But no, in reality, I get so easily distracted. It's like, oh, I need to do this, and then I notice a problem, and then by the time I get back, I forget what I was actually trying to achieve, and have to come back and redo it, and like discover that all over again. And oh boy, it's a little inconvenient, I will say. What do you mean invalid placement? What about this is invalid? Oh my god. Okay. This is another pet peeve of mine. When you are in late game, you should be able to just shoot an explosive at these little veins. Because I am in late game. I do not want to sit here and have to mine this stupid ass resource just to get access to it or to place things around it. Like, that bothers me. I have to sit here like a fool and chip away at this stuff like I just started the game for 58 limestone or whatever it is that I'm just going to throw away anyways. Okay. So, what we're gonna do now is we are going to set up another iron delivery at the halfway point. And oh boy, that iron seems like it's not actually coming in at a good rate. Why is that? Or steel, sorry. Okay, yeah, this one looks good. But this 600 is producing nothing. We need to investigate. It doesn't look like it's getting enough resources. It looks like we're short coal, as again we can see here. But why? Oh, is this the... Oh man, I think I see the issue. Again, improper scaled elevators going from 780 to 1200. You know, sort of makes a difference. The bane of my existence right now, honestly. I should know better. Maybe I should just... The reason I keep number 5 for belts and elevators on my hotbar is genuinely those are my go-to for things that don't require it. Like a Mark 6, and then all I have to do is press E once, and we're at Mark 6. If I had just tooled in Mark 6 on the hotbar, I have to press it 5 times to get to a Mark 5 belt. But as you can see, our coal should be filling up quite quickly here. Oh boy. Tasks beget more tasks. At least my factory looks kind of pretty now. I can understand why they call it the golden nut, because you have to be actually insane to do it. Only 2% of people beat this game according to the achievements, but the amount of work required to go for the golden nut, I did it just on a whim, being like, you know, I like this game. I could play a little bit more. It shouldn't take that long. I did not know the scale of what it took to get this silly little trophy. It's one that only 1% of players achieve. So half of the players who beat the game decide to go for the golden nut and successfully do it. I imagine there's a lot who attempt to do it, realize it is too much work, and then give up. And honestly, you guys are the real MVPs. Sunk cost fallacy means nothing to you. Because while I can say that building these machines has been satisfying and my factory looks like 10 or 20 times more impressive than what it just took to like beat the game and even get like nuclear power, and sure, you technically didn't need to build at this scale to get it. You can let your computer just idle for a long time. But it's like, I don't just like letting my computer idling doing nothing, especially because I use my computer to like do things for work, for leisure. But like, oh my god, was this just like a way larger scope than I ever pictured it would be. Do I regret it? Sorta. It's been an interesting challenge nonetheless, but like, oh my god. But we got all the iron wired up. We got a 1200 powering these 3 machines, 1200 powering these 3 machines. I thought I did wire up the concrete. Did I not? Oh, I need to replace this, that's why. That's another thing, when I can't really blame the developers, but when you place a splitter after placing an elevator, it won't actually connect. You have to place the elevator to the splitter, like, after the fact. Which makes sense. Again, I can't really complain, but I'm going to anyways because I'm really good at it. And once again, almost made the exact same mistake with the lift elevators. I'm going to check this side as well because I probably did not use the correct one. I did not. Again, I do not make the same mistake twice. I make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure. But there we go. We now have this machine operating at what should be full capacity. just in time for it to get dark. So, what we're going to do is we're going to hook up this final output stage here. And boy, do we got a lot. However, this will create a bit of an issue because we are right in line with this. Although it looks kind of pretty right here, it's a bit of a pain because we need to go like so. We need to create a merger and work with Mark V belts because we're really not working with that high quantity here. And we are just going to probably do this. Get on the same level. Get on my level, please. And then use a straight belt, which this really did not need to be Mark 6. And then go like so. That's, I think, the neatest way I can think of doing it. But look at our massive supply of heavy belts that we just sent and probably underground, which will then start feeding these machines, which desperately need them. You can see some are barely making it to the upper machines that are over here. That's the problem with running a manifold design on machines that are this large, honestly, is to fully saturate them are going to take a while. We might need to actually shut some machines off for the parts to reach the upper ones in a more like actual time frame instead of spiking the output so hard. I don't even remember where these were wired to. I guess I'll just wire them to these machines. What the? Did that one just turn on? It's not even wired, is it? That's very odd, but okay. Yeah, what the hell? I think that must be a bug. These aren't wired in, and it's like something in Unreal. It's trying to assign the, I don't know if that's a spotlight, but the actor object or something to the nearest blueprint. Well, if I don't have to wire them in, I won't. We're probably going to run out of both maybe wire and clad aluminum sheets, but or actually it might have been a long enough time. Gonna be close here, but that's okay. Let's finally wire up the last little bit here. Oh yeah, let's not make the mistake that I was, you know, rearing to make. Let's actually put a spacer there. You can tell I'm a little bit more awake now as I'm actually like placing things a little bit faster. Less hesitation. Oh man. Man, I'm so much faster right now. I'm so awake. I can type at 600 words a minute with only 849 mistakes. Okay, looking good, looking good. Waited for a brief second before it popped up and still placed it wrong. And actually, this is the first time I've remembered to place Mark 6 elevator lifts right off the bat. It's like I'm learning